Thank you so much for willing to join me today.
Should I look into the lens, Dimple, like that? Does that look better if I look directly in the
doesn't
lens?
matter where you look. It really doesn't matter. Look at me, look at wherever you feel comfortable. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it so much, and I really feel honored that you would jump onto my platform so we can talk about you, because whoa, girl, you got a track record, okay? I'm not talking to someone basic, okay?
Well, somebody had to do it. I got to feed myself. I need a home.
I love to see it. You are leading the way for all of us. Okay, we're following your footsteps. So I just have a few questions, if you would answer me. So yeah, again, thank you so much, Ameenah, for joining me. And yeah, today I just want to pick your brain, find out more about you, so I could let my peoples know too. So you're into performing arts. Geez, what have you not done? And I just wanted to know, like, at what point in your life did you feel this is the direction for me? This is what I'm gunning for. This is it.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
There's a lot of doubt. So let me know how it all started.
Yeah. Hindsight being 2020, I definitely feel like it was probably around age 10 that I knew that I was really interested in music and dance, and that music and dance were going to be a big part of my life. Music being drumming and dance. Essentially, I was a break dancer, and I wanted to get into ballet. Yeah, and I was just like into it. And but I didn't have a lot of family support for it, and so I chose something that I thought my family would really like, which was I was going to be a lawyer, and I was going to go to an Ivy League school on a track scholarship. So that was what my parents thought up until around age 13 or 14, when all of this stuff was really pushing on me in a powerful way. And I was like, please, 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 can I take ballet? Can I take jazz? Whatever it is. And they agreed, consented to that. And once that happened, I knew. And I was in dance class and acting class, and I forget exactly how this all happened, but I heard about a part for a young girl in Macbeth for a professional theater. They were doing, the Shakespeare Festival for the summer. They needed a teenage girl to play one of the witches, and I got the part and caught the bug. And then in that production, there was a girl there called Amber Feldman who was going to a performing arts high school, and she was like, you should go to the performing arts high school. And then that just became my absolute mission, and I was like, I must. So I spent the next year, which was my 10th grade, which is age 15 here in America, my 10th grade year, just petitioning my parents to let me go to the performing arts high school. And it was like pulling teeth. It was like pulling teeth and then I wasn't going to be a lawyer.
Parents, listen.
My mother was having none of it. She was like, what?
Because you meant to be a doctor, engineer, any of those that can secure the bag,
Yeah, totally. And, I can't say that there haven't been times when I've been like, oh, okay, I see what she means now. Like, yeah, like that paycheck would have been much steadier. But honestly, I've made my living in the arts. I do pretty good. I'm proud of what I do, and I love what I do. And I think I'm a happy human. And so, because I'm pursuing the thing that I love, and so I think I made the right choice ultimately. And I think my family thinks so as well, but they were definitely like, what is she doing? But then, I started working pretty young. So pretty young, they were like, okay, maybe this isn't stupid
or a joke or something that's gonna come and go, like you 10 years old. Jeez, that's amazing to realize that that's your passion at such a young. What influenced you? Were you influenced by movies?
Now this is an interesting one too. I don't know if I believe in fate or karma or any of those things. I think I still have questions in my head about them, but I do know that music chose me, and I've been beating on things since I was 9 years old. And like, I just was a drummer. I just came out of the womb as a drummer. And, you know, dance was also something that was really in my spirit. And even though I didn't end up getting all the technical training that I needed and wanted to have a professional dance career, I had a pretty decent career, you know, certainly as a choreographer, but also, you know, dancing in companies and stuff like that. But yeah, just like, I just kind of feel like music really was the thing, is it chose me. And drums have just been my salvation, my temple, my religion, my everything, my safe space, my touchstone, like my hit the reset button. It's all been with drums. But music, I think, was my entrance into it. And above all, I'm probably a musician. And you know, the funny thing is that I even though I have made money as a drummer, like I was in Stomp, and you know, I played with a bunch of acts, from teeny tiny no-name acts to, you know, Macy Gray and Rihanna and like these big people, I don't monetize drums in that way. Like, I kind of had this reputation in LA for being like the best cheap drummer you're gonna get, or the cheapest best drummer you're gonna get. You're not gonna find a better free drummer than me. You know, and so I try and keep my skills like as pro as I can. Obviously, I'm never going to be as good as the girls and guys that play every day. But I play, you know, I play almost every day, and I'm a decent drummer, and so it just is a part of my soul, really, and it's something that I sometimes do for money and sometimes not. But it's my, you know, yeah, it is my artistic spirit animal, is drums, and so yeah.
That is beautiful. So I have a question then. Considering like the longevity of your career, how have you adapted? Because from the time, and I believe you've been performing since, or you've been in the industry from a very young age, 10 up until now. So that's a long time, and there's been a lot of changes to the industry. So how have you adapted? How have you kept yourself relevant? Things like that throughout this change.
Yeah, great question, Dimple. Like, I think two things have benefited me. One is being what I am in this business. And so none of the rules applied to me. No one was like, hey, little chocolate girl, why don't you come be an actor? In fact, everyone was like, have several seats. And I just was like, oh, that means I'm going to have to write this journey and this story myself. And that has benefited me, because whatever people were saying you had to do in order to have a career, like look a certain way, like do a certain thing, I was like, I don't know if I have to do that. I did have to be professional. I did have to know my lines. I did have to show up on time. I did have to do all those things, but I didn't have to schmooze in the way that people schmooze. I didn't have to get on the casting couch. I didn't have to wear my hair a certain way or make my nose, my makeup look a certain way. It was like, because to try and fit myself into that mold would have been too many things. I wouldn't even have recognized myself as a human being had I tried to mold myself into that thing. And the second thing was just kind of what we were just talking about, is that I diversified my portfolio. Basically, like, people were like, what are you, an actor, a dancer, or a drummer? And I was just like, first of all, I'm all three, and I'm going to stop telling you what I do. I'm just going to do it. And if you guys have judgments about that, I'll see you, at the end of the year when my W-2s say actor, drummer, dancer, and yours say waiter, temp, whatever. And so I just was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay employed in this industry. And so when I couldn't find work on TV, I played drums. When I couldn't play drums, I was choreographing everything in sight. And I remember I went through a period where, I had like these twists in my hair, and my hair was about, this long, and then I wanted locks, and I was going to go for locks. And, locks take a second to like get happening, and you hit that awkward phase of locks, which is, right around this length right here. And it's just like, I didn't book work as an actor for like a year and a half. And it was the toughest year and a half of my career yet, because I was aging as well, from like the young category to the young mom category, which was a total age shift. And so I didn't work for like a year and a half, but I choreographed every show in LA that I could get my hands on. And so when I couldn't work as an actor, I choreographed, and you just choreographed everything. And but I was never very good at working regular jobs, as it were. Like, I'm a bit of a cut up, you know, I'm a bit of the class clown, and like, I just can't sit still, and I'm gonna get fired.
It's not the one.
I'm gonna get fired because I'm just gonna be cutting up. I'm just gonna be cutting up in your office. And I have been known to do that because there have been occasions in my early days in LA when you temp, you know, you're working in an office, like whatever, you're like doing whatever. And I've been known to like, you know, crawl on the floor into your office and underneath your desk and grab your leg and just scare the crap out of you while you're like working, and you're like an accountant and you're like doing your thing. But so me and offices don't mix that good.
You know why?
You know?
Why?
I am just, that's just how I am. I'm a class clown, and the walls feel, you know, and I'm just like trying to bust out of them. So I think like if I wasn't in the arts, I would either be like a Johnny Cochran style attorney, or I'd be in prison somewhere, just like wearing like an orange jumper, like, hey man, you know. Or I would have been like a Johnny Cochran style attorney. And no disrespect to Cochran, but I don't think I could have been an attorney, honestly. Yeah.
So where you are is perfect. Fate made you here, and that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this show is all about series, and you've been in a number of series, either as guest star or regular. So I just wanted to find from you, before I say how I actually got to know you, which series would you say you really enjoyed working on? Is there one? Is there not? Which one?
Yeah, so on TV.
On TV.
Yeah, so this is going to sound funny. So I think I would be remiss not to say that The Office wasn't a great experience, because it was amazing. Like, especially, again, hindsight being 2020. I do think I was a little bit sort of like, I was like kind of outside of the TV world. Like, I lived outside of TV, you know, I lived as a musician, basically. Like, people around LA, basically, I was a drummer, and oh my God, she's also an actor. It was kind of more like that. Like, people were surprised when they saw me on TV, even though that was my number one job, was being an actor. But I lived with the musicians. And so I don't think I appreciated or enjoyed The Office as much as I could have or should have in the moment. And looking back, I'm like, wow. And I get that because like, just all the love that surrounds that show and the fandom that is around that show, and how it really has changed my life. And like, you know, even in the small way, you know, obviously I'm not the biggest star, and certainly wasn't the most important character on that show, but my character, for whatever reason, touched a chord with people. And that has been like this, just an awesome experience, like to be a representative, frankly. And I feel like just this little, you know, chocolate drop on that show was a good thing, you know. And I don't know that I knew that it was so impactful until these years later, and the character still resonates with people. So it was just an awesome experience in that way. But I gotta say, years ago, there was this show on TV that Billy Ray Cyrus, Miley Cyrus's dad, was on.
Hannah Montana, listen.
Yeah. I was on Hannah Montana too.
Yes, that was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah. I was on Hannah Montana too. But like, her dad had a show called 18 Wheels of Justice. Now, this was one of those, like, you know, this was the B movie of TV kind of shows or whatever. But it was one of the first things I booked in LA where you had like a good part or whatever. And I was playing like some crazy character, probably a bit stereotypical. I was probably, you know, playing like some convict, and I had to like kill this white girl in the shower. Me and that white girl ended up becoming really good friends. So we were, girl, what are we doing? We were like, I don't know, girl, but let's do it. Let's do it to the fullest. We're on this show called 18 Wheels of Justice. Let's just, I'm gonna kill you in the shower. You're gonna go down. Okay, boom. And like, you know, like whatever it was, like I had to shank her in the prison or some shit, you know? And, but the set was so wonderful. And the director was so gracious and wonderful to me, because I was like this theater girl coming in, and he just had just, I don't even remember his name, honestly, which is terrible, but he just had like a really awesome way of directing. And he was so clear and gentle and kind that I just felt like, all right, I'm going to be all right out here in Hollywood. And so I remember that to this day, and that the show is like whatever, but I thought he got good work out of me in a character that could have gone totally just where you're just like, what am I doing? You know, and I've definitely done that stuff too. But but I really enjoyed the set and the vibe and the atmosphere of 18 Wheels of Justice. It was awesome. For series, yeah. For movies, there's nothing that compares to being on the Marvel sets.
Listen!
Yeah.
Listen, that is amazing. Like, my husband and I, we've followed Marvel throughout the years, and these last two, like the last two that came out, we literally watched it. I think it was maybe a couple of weeks ago. Tears, emotions. It was just, I think it was even more emotional because we saw like Sandley, Chadwick, and that was just like, all the emotions. But what an incredible set of movies. I'm sure that was such an honor to be part of.
It really was. Like, you know, honestly, I've always been a fan of martial arts. I probably have equal parts martial arts and dance training. Like I have Kung Fu and Aikido and Capoeira and like all these different disciplines, you know, mostly Kung Fu and Capoeira, but I have a bunch of different, you know, spatterings, and I box. And so martial arts and fighting has always been like a part of my deal. And I really, you know, wanted to be a superhero. And like these movies, like who didn't though, you know, you're walking around like doing Kung Fu in your house and everyone's just like, you know, just having a laugh, you know, as a kid growing up. And so here I was like getting on in years, as it were, when these movies came out. But I got a little bit lucky in that I knew the casting directors who were casting, and so they, you know, I have auditioned for lots and lots and lots of Marvel stuff, you know, because they're awesome and they remembered me from a theater piece that we did together. And I gotta say, I think like a couple things. One, if I was probably 10 or 15 years younger, and also if I were not already shifting my mind in my career towards directing, then I think I may have gone for, quote unquote, gone for that a little harder. But, you know, I really felt as though I was on this path of being a director and I wanted to stay on it. I felt like it was more who I was and it was going to define me in a bigger, larger, more, I guess, like, you know, correct, or I identify more with being a director and that kind of thing. But when these opportunities with Marvel came up, you know, I didn't squander them. I did my best to book everything that came my way. And I ended up booking a very small part that I was so thrilled to book, because I get to now just look back and say, yeah, I was in that, you know?
Yes,
like,
and afterwards, when I figured it was you and I watched it again, I'm like,
yeah.
I know her.
Yeah, and I did. I'm in those movies. I'm in Endgame and Infinity War more than my face is there, because like I did a bunch of, you know, Zoe Saldana was doing Avatar at the time, and she was unable to. And Josh Brolin had to do some scenes with all of his scenes really with her character Gamora on the green screen and the motion capture suits. And so I was the reader for all of that. I played Gamora for Thanos for all of those scenes. Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm saying all, but you know, it's been a few years or whatever. I think it was like 99% of the Gamora Thanos scenes. When you see Thanos talking to Gamora, he was talking to me. Like I did, you know, including like the death scene where he throws her off of the cliff, that he was grabbing my arm.
All the emotions.
Yeah, he was grabbing my arm and throwing me around the room. Yeah, and it was just so getting to do that. So I did. So the Russo brothers were just awesome. Like I just had a lovely experience on that set. And meanwhile, minor, I'm like this teeny tiny thing, but it was such a good experience that I will remember it. And they treated me very well. And you know, I did the Gamora's mom, and then they asked me to come back and do you know, the motion capture stuff. And it was just really fun to be in that environment and get to work with Josh and get to work with a few of the other actors that were in the show and in those movies. And so, yeah, it was a really, really amazing experience. Like if you're on a $500 million show, it's going to be, it's going to be fun. And it was not $500 million, like because it was over budget and everyone's stressed out and it's terrible. No, it was $500 million of money well spent and money well allocated. And so that's what it felt like on set. It was chill, calm, fun, creative, inspiring, you know? Yeah. So those were probably my most fun experiences out there.
Amazing.
On film anyway.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Like, it's so exciting for me to hear like the behind the scenes of things. Like that genuinely excites me because I just love watching these shows, and I know it's a lot of hard work. Like, I've always taken that for granted, like what actually goes on set and the amount of effort and hard work people put into these things. So just like talking to people who were there, who knew what was going on, to me is fantastic. Before my last question though, I will comment on you as Val. Listen, first of all, The Office is legit my favorite show. There is no show above The Office. I fell in love with The Office probably in 2014, and I have not stopped watching it since then. I watch it almost every day. It's part of my hair care routine. When I, twist my hair at night, I'm watching The Office.
That's awesome.
Or I eat supper. And for me, like, although Rashida Jones was there as Karen, and we know Rashida is black, in the show, technically, she's, I don't know, Italian or something. You are the black person or the black female in The Office. And I was like, they're not a black female. To me, that was like such an important thing to have you there although I was like, okay, what's going on? Brandon over here on the side, then you with Daryl, what's going on here? I was like, girl, what you doing? But
Val was living her life is what Val was doing. Val was like, y'all don't know me. I just get, y'all think, shoot, but you don't know. Like, I have a life outside of this job. Yeah, I really appreciated that. And I appreciate you saying that. And like, like I said, I'm not a huge TV watcher, and I don't think I fully knew what I was stepping into and the importance of it and the value of it, and like until maybe it was over, I guess. And isn't that always, that's why they say hindsight's 2020. No, I didn't take it for granted. I showed up every day, did my job to the best of my ability, but I did notice, like, a friend of mine called me a couple weeks ago, and she said that they were talking about diversity in her daughter's like theater class or something, and they were talking about representation, and one of the examples of representation was Val from The Office. And I was like, word?
Absolutely. And you're the only black, like, yes, there was, Stanley's what's this, the woman he cheated on with, and then there's like a snippet of the receptionist at corporate, and little bits and pieces. But then I think it was season 8 and 9. You come in, I was like, hey, okay, cool. I like this. And
that's awesome.
And I didn't know like you were gonna be, because they were just doing that interview part where the warehouse quit, and then you came. So I was like, oh, she's a regular. I like that. And you being dark skinned, to me, like those kind of things are important. And that made me love the show even more. I was like, yes. And
that makes you really happy.
Yeah, and to meet you in real life, I'm like, wow.
That makes me really happy. Yeah, it matters to me a lot, because like I definitely 100% like designed my career as a chocolate girl with natural hair. Like I knew I could do all of the things that other girls were doing, and I'm happy for them. And honestly, I do not pass judgment on them. Like, frankly, they've probably worked more than I have as a result of that. But I know I made a pact with myself, whether I said it out loud or wrote it down or whatever, but I knew that I was going to go as far as I could go in this business with this,
just
you
as
know,
you
and
are.
yeah. And I felt like
that is so important. I don't like hearing someone say that who has worked in the industry, but as you said, you haven't gotten, you know, the most, but to me it's so important, like as you are, go as you are. And that actually just like leads into sort of like my last question is that what advice would you give to young Black girls from, because I'm from South Africa, from America, you know, what advice would you give them going into this industry? Because personally, I'm also like that, but I'm just like, I'm scared, you know, there's just so much, and you see how people enter and what you must look like and what you, quite frankly, I don't look the part either, you know, but I know I want to be me. And you know what I mean? So what advice would you give young women, older women, any person of color, Black woman, whatever, who's trying to enter this industry?
It's a really good question. Like, and I guess the answer is multifaceted. No, number one, I think that like people have to come into it with a real clear understanding of what business they are entering into, so that you don't get hurt in this business. And it's very easy to get hurt because it's a business that's about fame and money and celebrity, and those have incredible dark sides to them that are not that far from the benefits of them. So you got to know what business you're getting into. Two, you have to make a deal with yourself. Like, you have to know who you are. And in my opinion, you have to know that there's only one person that goes to bed with you at night, and that's you. And I personally needed to be more proud of myself as a human being than I did for my accomplishments as an actor. Like, my humanity was just more important to me. And for me, that meant that I was going to maintain certain standards about myself as just as a human, not meaning that I didn't want to play these characters or whatever, but that, like, you know, or that, you know, just that there was more to me being an actor than just me booking parts. And it mattered to me to be a Black woman who was an actor, who was, you know, that mattered to me. So know what you are getting into this business for. And I also really think, like, and this is the tough one, is you got to know what you're selling. And frankly, me being honest about the way the world perceived me helped me work, because I knew what I was selling. And I knew, you know, maybe I wasn't the most beautiful. I'm not like Lupita. No one asked me to be on the cover of Vogue after I was on The Office, you know. And so I couldn't go into the business thinking that I was going to have Lupita's career. I had to go into the business busting down the doors that I wanted to bust down, which were much more doors about, like, people seeing a broader range of what Black women are. Like, you know, that just because I'm dark skinned and I'm thin or whatever does not mean that I fit into this one demographic. Like, 10 seconds after hearing me talk or listen or talking about my values or whatever, like, you know, I'm going to slot into, you know, a different range of characters. And I wanted the business to see me as what I am. And I thought I don't think my career is over, but definitely I'm shifting into another gear as a director. But I wanted people to know, you know, Val, I think, was really close to the kind of characters that I was good at and wanted to play on TV, you know, and that represented me. So knowing what you're selling, knowing what business you're getting into, and remembering that you are the executor of your own life, not anybody else. Like, you are the executor, and don't let anybody tell you what you should be, because it's just like some people that made up these rules, and you're a person too, and they're all just wearing pants and you're wearing pants too. So why would you listen to bad advice from people, you know? And then probably the last thing I would say is, like, your relationships with your girlfriends are really important. And like, I definitely have surrounded myself with, like, powerful women, and, you know, all women of all colors, honestly. Like, the sisterhood is strong, and that the sisterhood has been something that I've relied on since I was a teenager, really. And having strong women around me that you can bounce things off of, and Black women especially, but not exclusively Black women. It's like all women, but women in particular, just having that. And so that we're not in auditions competing against each other. We're in auditions like, girl, you better book this job.
Hello.
Like, you know, like literally you're auditioning for the same
If
part.
it's not me, it's you. It's one
You know
of
what I'm
us.
saying? Like, yeah, like get this job, you know, and you just love each other, and you just, you know, and that honestly made working in the business 10 times easier.
Sure.
Was not fighting with the women around me. And so the sisterhood is strong with me, and I hope that it always will be with me. And so, you know, but yeah, and older women are awesome to have around.
Right? So true. They be wise.
Many a night I have sat at the foot of 5 or 6 older women just going like, tell me just, oh, you know, and you just sit there and you listen, and like, it's like, all right. And then and then those are the ones that you call when you're in need, you know, when you're hurting. And I call them now as a director, like several of them are my mentors. And, you know, you're having a difficult day, and you just pick up the phone and you call one of these women, and they're just like, ooh, girl, okay, so look, you know, and they just break it down. And so get that tribe around you.
Awesome. Ameenah, my heart, I'm so happy right now. Like I've accomplished the things in life. I'm so happy right now. Thank you so much for joining me today and allowing me to pick your brain. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, guys.
It's my pleasure to go, and thanks to all of your viewers as well. Hopefully people will enjoy this. You know?
Yes, and thank you guys for watching. And let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Let me know. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.